let's jump into the economics.
Sure.
Markets have recognized this. They are scared to death. Events are being canceled all over the world. We postponed our Meet the Masters event. By the way, you were one of the speakers at that event.
Yeah.
I hope when we finally do the event, you can still come and speak to our
For
audience.
sure. For sure.
And you know, event planners, hotels, airlines, cruise ships obviously are really suffering. But there's a whole supply chain around the planet, and China is sort of at the beginning of this supply chain for a lot of products, right?
Yeah.
Let's go over this.
Yeah. 94% of the Fortune 1000 companies have part or all of their supply chain coming from China.
Yeah, and many in Wuhan.
Yeah. That whole area. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So this is something that can potentially affect worldwide supply chains, meaning that you could have a supply shock. So if you go back through U.S. history, you look at the oil embargo in the early 1970s, that was an example of a supply shock.
Right.
If you look at Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, where you go down to your local store and there's just nothing on the shelves, that's an example of a supply shock. What we're accustomed to in the United States is trying to battle demand shock. So we go through the great financial crisis or the global financial crisis, and all of a sudden no one's spending money because no one can get credit. Their main asset, their house, is collapsed in value.
Right.
So that's no one's out spending or buying things, but there's still plenty of things on the shelves.
Right. So here's what's interesting about that, George, and you're probably going to allude to this if I don't say it, but we have, well, the central planners at the Federal Reserve and the government have tools to deal with that shock. They can stimulate, they can do more QE and just push money. They can flood the system with money, and that'll cure some of that because people will just take the money and go spend it, and then that's resolved. But this is a rare dual shock that we're not facing it yet, but it's early, where we're going to experience the dual shock, which is it has some unique properties, right?
I've never seen anything like this in U.S. history. If you go back to the major economic events, I've never seen a supply and demand shock, a huge one, happen simultaneously. It's not saying that it's 100% guaranteed going to happen, but all the components are in place for it to play out within the next few months. So why demand shock? Well, if everyone is staying in their house because they're afraid of getting sick, if the whole country's on lockdown, like in Italy, no one's going to these conventions, no one's flying, no one's going to Florida for their vacation. They're not out spending money. That's the last thing on their mind. So that's what creates this demand shock, while at the same time, if you look at I had this really cool pictograph that I used in a video last week that showed the top 10 importers from China in the United States. So number one was Walmart. Number two, I believe, was Target. But you had Lowe's, Home Depot, all these big box stores that the majority of Americans go to at least once a week, if not once a day.
Right.
They're getting the majority of their products from China. Okay, well, if China has been in lockdown mode and it takes 30 days to get those goods from China to the United States, there's going to be a big lag there. So we should expect to see supply shocks in the United States within the next month or two.
And we've certainly already, if you want to know how that feels, you got a little taste of it already. And anybody who has gone to any Costco around the country has reported to me and sent me photos of how all the water is gone, all the paper products are gone. I'm not quite sure why the toilet paper thing specifically, but that's, I don't know. I guess that's the ultimate necessity item, that and water maybe. But we've never seen those shelves empty. I went to several stores over the weekend, CVS, Walgreens. I could not find any hand sanitizer. None. It was, and there were notes on the shelves, yellow notices that said, we're out. Don't keep looking around the store. Don't ask our people for. We just don't have it. That and the hand sanitizer, the wipes, the water, the paper products. You've seen that. My friend told me he was talking to one of the Costco employees, and they said rice and pasta are the other things. They said when bags of rice come in and they get pallets and pallets of the rice delivered to Costco, they're gone in an hour. Everything's gone.
Yeah, so in that same video, I kind of did this thought experiment on how that plays out. And if we see that come to fruition in the United States, I think you're going to have consumer prices on those items go through the roof. You could see them double, triple, quadruple in price, while at the same time you see prices on higher end items completely collapse. So you see car prices, as an example, completely collapse, while at the same time, price of rice quadruples.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.